Gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She comes in with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. Wrong button. In my head, that was going to be so much smoother. It didn't work out that way, though. Welcome, everybody. Hope you guys are having a great night. It's Sunday night. It's the last night of your weekend. It's Super Bowl. I don't know how many people are going to be showing up. I don't watch football anymore. Hi, Mom. How you doing? That's my mom. She's stopping in. Good to see you. And good to see all of you guys that are here. Thank you, Renee. Good to see you. And that's it so far as in the chat anyway. But it's great to see all of you guys. Thank you so much for being here with me and keeping me company on this fine good evening. I've got what I hope to be a great show lined up for you guys. The phones are working. They work even better when I connect them. Hold on while I do that. I knew I was forgetting something. That's what it was. I forgot those. Let's see what happens. It's ringing. It's ringing. And it's picked up. Good. So it turns out the phones are in working order tonight. So you can always call in if you want. The phone number to the show is 720-923-0500. 720-923-0500 is the numbers for fun right here on the portal. So I hope you guys will call in and be a part of it if you've got something paranormal to share. I know I love hearing it. I love hearing all about the paranormal. All of it. I'm absolutely passionate about everything to do with this unknown, unexplained, supernatural, paranormal stuff. I think it just really demonstrates that our reality is so dynamic and so fluid, and it's not this concrete, rigid barrier that we've come to expect it to be. And I think that's cool. That's a world of mystery, a world of magic and possibility surrounds us. And I think it's just us that became rigid. You know, I think I don't think the reality has changed so much as we've just changed away from it. You know, we've kind of got away from that natural flow of things and living in sync with and in harmony with things. We kind of like in the Matrix, we're kind of like the virus. We just occupy and expand and occupy and expand. And, you know, we've got to find a rhythm to our life and to our societies and stuff. And I don't know if we're any closer than we've ever been, but I hope so. But it's great to see all of you guys here. Good to see some new, I thought I just saw, David Pierce. How you doing, David Pierce? That's a new name to me. And it's good to see you. Aussie Tiger, Ruger, good to see you guys. Sandra, hello. And YTFP, Chris. How you doing, buddy? Tinker is here, War Child. Great to see you guys. I really appreciate it because it makes me feel all special and loved. And I don't know about you, but everybody needs some love. And so I'm trying to give it all right back to you. Hi, Eliza. How you doing? Good to see you, Pumpkin. Pumpkin. Good to see Pumpkin, too. That's a new name. That's always a shock to me. In a good way. I mean, it's just wonderful to turn on the streams and see these new names popping up and to see what you guys are up to. And that, you know, it's so humbling that you guys choose to come and spend part of your weekend with me. And like last night, we had a good show. Don and I did. We had a lot of fun, and you guys were amazing as usual. And thank you. And please keep spreading the word about the portal to people you know that love the paranormal or are into the paranormal. If you belong to any groups all over the internet, let them know about the Paranormal Portal, because, we're not just a YouTube show. We also have a podcast that's available on all the major platforms: Pandora, Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, Stitcher, CastBox. God, there's so many of them. And I remember like 5, and that's about it. But there's literally dozens and dozens of them that we're on. So if you listen to podcasts wherever you're, catching your Joe Rogan show, well, I guess that's always Spotify now, but wherever you're catching Sasquatch Chronicles or the Confessionals, look for the Paranormal Portal, because we should be there as well. I think we're everywhere. I don't know that there's any stone we've left unturned as far as accessibility. So hopefully you will, and hopefully you'll let people know about that too. And if you are watching the podcast, the new one, which will be released in a little bit here, was an interview I had with Mike from Bigfoot's Wilderness.com is his website, but he's also a podcaster and a real nice guy, and we had a great discussion and had a lot of fun. So hold on, I got a bit of a headache, so I'm just gonna take a couple of aspirin, just like Mom used to make. Mom never made aspirin. That's not true. There, I should be better soon. But Mike, yeah. Mike's podcast will be coming up. I'll be putting it online after the show here, so stay tuned for that. And I hope you enjoyed it. He's a Bigfoot guy and has his own show, and his Bigfootswilderness.com is his site where he also takes people's encounters, and he not only brings them up on his show, but he records them on his website as well. So very worth checking out, and a very nice guy. We had a great discussion, and it was a lot of fun, and we're probably going to be collaborating on some things in the future. So hopefully, I always like expanding the networking umbrella, because, some people approach this like it's a competition, and I don't really feel that way. And it's probably because when I started, people really were welcoming to me, like Wes and Tony, and they really bent over backwards to help the portal so much. So I just feel that, people were there for me and helping me. So the least I can do is help other people as I network with them. So I always try to as much as I can. But anyway, I think that's all I got in the front end. Tonight is a ghostly encounters episode, so we'll be going over some ghost stories that I've managed to dig up, and and then we've got the trail cam terrors coming up at the end of the show. So stick around for that one, because I got another cool picture that kind of plays off of one we've already shown on the show. So that'll be coming up at the tail end of the show tonight. So I hope you're ready, because it's time for bed. Boom. And a round of applause. All right, we should be fast at it now, folks. So I've got a bunch of things pulled up for you guys ready to read, and hopefully I'll keep you wildly entertained throughout the duration of our journey through the portal tonight. All things considered, it's always my goal. It's not always what I achieve, but it's always my goal. No, I think you guys have always been wonderful and gracious, and thank you to everybody who takes the time to leave comments in the YouTubes. It helps us out a ton when you guys like and comment on the streams, but all the comments have been really gracious. In fact, I created a segment for those rare comments. It's called Comments from the Cheap Seats, but I've only had to use it once, which is good. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not looking for people to start brutalizing me in the comments, but when they happen, I figured I'd showcase them on the show. But it's kind of rare, which is, again, it's good. But anyway, let's get into this discussion and find out just what the hell's going on out there in the Ghostverse The first story I'm going to talk to you tonight about is coming from Virginia, and it has to do with haunted places. I'm not sure the person is identifying this correctly, but let me read the story so I know for sure what they're talking about. But just in the heading that I did read, it didn't sound like they're really understanding what they're dealing with. But let's see. And it says, in my neighborhood, there's an old Catholic school, and it's said to have someone or something unnatural roaming around inside of it. The people around where I live believe more in impish, evil elves than they do in ghosts. Many of them say they see a small figure always running around in the school garden. Little footprints were even found in the flower beds. Well, maybe it is then. Maybe they were right. Of course, everyone says it's elf, but I'm not so sure. After hearing so many stories, I've decided to do some research on the school, and I did find an unusual detail. There used to be a house on the land where the school was built, but part of it was saved. When the house was torn down, the owner didn't want to tear that part of the house down because it lived in it. The school now uses that section as storage, and the students claim to hear joyful music, laughing, and dancing coming from inside of it. Also, things would get lost and wind up in strange places, or chairs would be in the hallways and nobody would be inside, not even the janitors. And at first, I thought it was just a bunch of high school students playing a prank, but that just wasn't the case. The high school students were the ones who dared each other to spend a night inside. None of them ever lasted over 3 hours because they were always ran out screaming that they saw and or heard something terrifying. 1 or 2 days later, they would have the worst of luck, so much so that 3 of them were in a terrible accident but got away safely. I researched again, and it turns out the school really isn't all that old. It's just the section of the house that goes back before 1918, and there's been no deaths near or inside the building. I was going to go inside myself, but I no longer think that's a good idea. My classmate Noel had a horrifying experience with whatever that thing is. That's what he told us during school. I was waiting outside the school when, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a dark figure of a very short man with long hair run behind the storage building. And then it was as if I was paralyzed. It was hard to breathe, like there was some kind of thick, odorless smoke around me. My eyesight was blurry, and I had an overwhelming feeling that there was something menacing behind me. When the school bell rang, it all stopped. He proved he was telling the truth by showing us bruises on his back that looked like they were done by a very strong 4-year-old. Due to all the stories of it, the storage building has been nicknamed La Casa del Duende, or the Elf's House. I'm not sure what it is. It could be a demon because after Noel's experience and a few others I heard that were similar, but does anybody know what it could be and if it's something to be worried about? Yeah, that's actually very much sounds like a duende is a type of little person. They're I don't know. I've heard different descriptions of them. Some have likened them to looking kind of like little Mayans or Aztecs, like they have that native kind of skin or Hispanic tone to their skin, and I've also heard them as looking more impish and freaky looking. So, but it does sound like a little person, and apparently they saw handprints on this guy's back, or this girl's back, whoever Noel is. I don't know, is it Noel or Noel? I don't know, but it does. If they're finding little footprints and stuff, little people. Now I know some of you out there are going, what, little gnomes and stuff, but yeah. Little gnomes and stuff. Go figure. That's the beauty of the paranormal and this oddities that we discuss. And I find that people generally accept a good portion of it. Several of you guys are all really open-minded and willing to accept. All of the people that listen to the show have been really open-minded about all of this. But just when you're reading around, people are like, oh, okay, there's little elf people, Keeblers, and I realize that's kind of out there for a lot of people. But again, all of this stuff comes from legends and stories, traditional stories that were handed down and passed on generation to generation to generation. And there's always some kind of truth, whether it's leprechauns or gnomes or imps or sprites or duendes or pukwudgies or, whatever you have, there's always some kernel of truth. And there's people that swear on their lives they've seen these things. Now, I've never seen anything like that. I'm really fascinated by it because for all intents and purposes, it seems like they do live right around us. I mean, they also live out in the wilderness areas. Like there's stories I've come across where a hunter was out hunting small game like rabbits and stuff. And he was in the woods hunting, and it was a pretty deep forest. And he came to this little clearing, and there across the clearing was this looked like a little Santa Claus. He said it was about a 2 or 3 foot Santa Claus hacking on some wood, like chopping wood. And he said it just, and then it stopped, gathered up an armful of wood, and turned to go back wherever it was going. And it saw him, smiled, nodded, and just continued on his way. Now, I don't know. That doesn't sound like a malicious, horrible thing. But then there's the other stories, of course, like the pukwudgies, which hate people, apparently, as do the red hat gnomes, according to Robin Moonshadow, who's been a guest on our show many times. And they will readily attack people. So I don't know, take it or leave it, but are those things out there? I think there's a possibility of it. There's also legends from a lot of First Nation tribes talk about these small diminutive peoples that have been, a part of their tribe's cultures for years, sometimes even fighting alongside of them in wars and battles. And so, all of that can't be dismissed. And now I know a lot of people like to, look at Native American First Nation stories, and they think, well, come on. There's, there's all these legends and things that just don't exist, but you can't really just dismiss it out of hand just because it's part of their stories. The eagles are brought up in stories and legends, and they exist. So are the bears. So are beavers, and many other animals are brought up in their lore and legends, but yet they are real things. And so there's no reason to believe just because these stories are wild and fantastical that they couldn't be real. So take it or leave it. I'm just throwing it out there. I love the stories of the little people. In fact, on one of the cryptid shows, I think we'll do just a little people story again. Maybe we'll have to get Robin back on sometime soon too. She's got a lot of information. She gets claims from people. She gets communicated with all the time from people who have experienced these things. And it's just really incredible, including one story. I know I'm kind of spiderwebbing because this is a ghost show, but I just get so excited about the little people too. She told us one story where this family was out of their house, or they were out of the house, and they had been gone all day. They noticed there was weird things going on in the house, but they came home one day and came into the house and realized that there was a little figure in the computer desk on the computer using the mouse and going through some web pages. And they're like, what the hell is that? And it was like a little gnome saw them and threw itself out the window. It didn't break the window. The window was still open and stuff, but it threw itself. It was surfing the web. So I realized that's a huge claim, but what if it's true? What if that's true? And, I have no reason to doubt it. Hell, I've seen things that, many people may not believe, but I know they're true. I've lived through them. So that's the first story. Anyway, I had a big, long segue around that, but that's the first one. So let's get to the next one. This one sounds a little creepier. This one comes from Kentucky. It's a pretty quick story. It's miscellaneous, so that means it usually has several different phenomena involved in it. But it says, this is a true story that happened tonight. Now, granted, these stories that I'm reading you are from 2009, so they're not anytime new. But anyway, I was running around the house with my little brother. I was trying to get away from him because he kept jumping on me, and I was trying to write. I ran upstairs into the small hallway. I was standing in front of my grandmother's room, which is already open and the lights were off. I was standing at the top of the stairs looking down at my brother, saying something to him, when I just happened to look over into my grandma's room. And when I did, I heard something growl loudly. It didn't sound like an animal or any electronic device, such as an air conditioner or radio or anything. It sounded just like a human growling as if they were mad. I looked into the dark room, a little shocked. It all happened so fast. I ran very quickly down the stairs and knocked my brother out of the way. Soon I was on the couch telling the story to my grandparents. My pawpaw went upstairs and put a light on in Grandma's room, and then he checked the whole room. Well, there's no animal and no person in there. He came downstairs and told us there was nothing in that room. But so I'm a little concerned to know what it could have been. I've heard of ghosts and demons growling, but I'm not sure. Please give me your ideas. Be careful. Be careful. If it's a growl, well, it could be a disembodied dog or something. You know, I don't know. They said it sounds like a person growling, like "Arr." I don't know. I don't know what that sounds like necessarily, but I guess it's possible. But it could be something dark. Could be something horrible. So I'd be careful. If you start getting scratches, oof, that's when you got to look out. All right, the next story, folks, is coming from Illinois. Why did they put the S in that anyway? Why'd they waste an S? They make you got to spell one extra letter. Don't even bother saying it. Get rid of it. I'm just being stupid. Sorry. All right. This is Illinois Apparitions, Voices and Touches. I think a young girl haunting my house has finally moved on. If you've read any of my other stories, you know a bit about her. Well, I don't know. Apparently this is a continuation. Her name is Mary. She was born in 1941 and died in 1948. She died falling down the stairs. Oh, that's horrible. It took me a couple of months to raise the money for seance, since the medium says he has to charge because most seances he does are wasted on yuppies who want to know who mommy always loved the best, or are willing to pay him to try and contact John Lennon, even though he makes no guarantees unless he has a significant personal item, like Mary's doll that we do have. I don't know how I feel about that. You know, I don't know. I mean, people have a right to earn a living, but I don't know. I guess it's up to the person. This past weekend was the start of Cam's week with my ex, so I had him come over to make contact. He asked me to provide a small bottle of wine, just enough for 2 glasses, because he says the alcohol helps break the barriers between us and them. Yeah, a lot of barriers get broken if you drink. Then we put the doll in the middle of the table. We focused on Mary, and after a couple of minutes, the medium said that he could sense her, although I didn't feel anything. He asked if she was there, and then said he heard her say yes. I didn't hear anything, but then I'm not a medium. He asked her to show that she was there, and the doll's hair blew like there was a wind, but we were inside. He asked if she knew what happened to her, and she says that she had gone downstairs for a glass of water, and Daddy caught her coming back upstairs, and her dad was mad and smelled funny. In parentheses, drunk, ? He grabbed her arm hard, and when she pulled away, she fell down the stairs. He asked if she knew she was dead, and she said yeah. He asked why she didn't move on, and she said she was scared. She wanted to wait for her mom. And he then said her mom was gone a long time ago and asked why she was still here. She said she didn't want to go where her mom was because she had killed Daddy, and that meant she was in hell. Here's another great reason why I don't subject Cam to religion. This poor kid has been trapped here for 60 years because she's afraid of her mom and is being punished eternally for defending herself. He asked about her grandparents. Well, wouldn't they be waiting for her? And she said she was still afraid to go alone. We told her that it was scary, but she had to go. She didn't belong here anymore. Then I could see her again. She was floating above the table, right above her doll. She was looking back at me, afraid, and I said, "It's okay. Mary, don't be scared. They've been waiting for you a long time. Go to them." And she was gone. I think she's finally moved on. Thank you, everyone, for your help and support and advice. Well, that's a happy ending, I guess. You know, I think it's horrible to think of those little children spirits stuck. You know, they're just stuck. They don't know what to do. I still find it really hard to swallow, and I always will because, you know, again, here's the thing. You know, being a parent and anybody that has a love for children, you'll understand that they are the most pure little delicate, beautiful souls. And they're not corrupt in any way. And I don't know, if there is a divine, wonderful consciousness to all of this, then why wouldn't that divine, loving, wonderful consciousness send something to bring those babies home? Someone, some way for them to know it's okay, and that's the hard part for me. I struggle with that because, and I don't know, maybe the little children's spirit can choose for themselves. Like, no, I don't want to go, whatever. And, being afraid could be something, but I don't know. It just seems to me it's hard for me to swallow, because I do believe there's that loving, universal consciousness that's keeping track of all of this. And I guess I just don't understand, but maybe it's just not mine to understand. Now, I will say also that anytime somebody talks about children's spirits, man, I get red flags like crazy, because it starts out with kid spirits and, trying to like take care of them and adopt them. And then it ends in screaming and scratching and exorcisms and all kinds of terrible stuff, because you've opened yourself up. Once you open yourself up to a presence, especially demonic, dark presence, then, you got a world of trouble. So I don't know. I always advise caution. That's just me, but man, I don't know. All right, this one is coming from South Carolina. It has to do with apparitions, voices, and touches. This is a story of what I believe was my baby's guardian angel. We just celebrated her first birthday a few hours before. After her party, I laid her down for an afternoon nap. She'd been in her crib for about an hour when I peeked in to check on her. As I opened her bedroom door, I saw a figure surrounded by a bright light leaning over the crib, touching my baby. My first reaction was to run over and pick her up. I was kind of frozen in my tracks. Finally, I found my voice and I said, "Who are you?" The figure started to turn towards me, and as it did, it vanished into thin air. I grabbed up my little girl and ran out of the room. My husband by that time was standing at the foot of the stairs, and I told him what had just happened. At first, I don't think he believed me. He tried to calm me down, but I know what I had seen. I was scared to death to leave my baby in her own room. That night, I made her a bed right beside ours. I was almost too scared to go to sleep that night, or for any other night. But that night, I laid there watching her sleep. I reached over and turned out the bedside lamp, and when I laid my head down on the pillow, I could have sworn that I saw a bright light flash in the corner of our room. I thought maybe it was my eyes just playing tricks on me. I was so tired and so worried. It seemed like hours before I finally dozed off, and in my head I thought I heard the baby playing. I turned over to look at her, and that was when I saw the bright white figure bent over her. It was playing with her. The baby was cooing and kicking her little legs. I asked the figure again, "Who are you?" And just like before, it disappeared. Ever since that night, it hasn't appeared since, as far as I know. Could it have been her guardian angel playing and watching over her? Could be. Could also be like a grandmother that's passed, or somebody that's stopping in to check on the baby. And don't get me wrong. Maybe angels do that kind of stuff, but I think it seems to me it's more likely it's some relative that loved the family very much. Cool story. I think that's wonderful. All right, let's go to the next one. This one's coming from Wisconsin. I know Wisconsin. I looked at that place for most of my life. I looked out over the water and saw Wisconsin. It's a good state. Don't get me wrong. They got great cheese. All right, let's see what's going on in Wisconsin. All right, it says, "My name is Rachel. I moved into my boyfriend's house about 5 months ago. At first, there wasn't too much to be concerned about. The past couple of weeks, there have been things going on that neither of us can explain. There was a very old-style house. In the 2 bedrooms upstairs, it has those short closet storage doors. Looks like a little kid door, and about a month ago, it kept opening by itself. We have cats and thought, oh well, they just pawed at it, but noticed that it was not easy to open. But we blamed it on the cats to put our minds at ease. This past week, my boyfriend was working days, and he has his little closet upstairs where he keeps his shirts, and that's in the middle of both bedrooms. And in the bedroom across from the creepy one is where I keep my clothes. Moving on, he went upstairs to get a shirt. He always peeks in there from habit to see if it's open, and it wasn't. I woke up, went upstairs to change, and found it to be open. I went to go shut it and found a pair of pajama pants laying inside the door. I realized about a half an hour later that both the cats were outside, so even if they could open the door, it couldn't have been them. I told my boyfriend, and he's just creeped out as I am, because it happened from the time that he left until I woke up. This has been going on a couple of times now. We also hear people walking upstairs now, and I'd really like some answers. Sage. I don't know. See, that's how it always starts, though, right? So with hauntings, ladies and gentlemen, oftentimes, and I think it's because it has to happen this way. I don't think that a spirit can just come into your house and just start raising hell. I just don't. I don't think that it can, and it's probably because they need some kind of permission, is all I can figure. They need some kind of ability from you or some kind of surrender from you in order to exert more of their presence. Like when they first are in your house, it'll be something simple like, oh, the door's open. Oh, no, it's not. Oh, now it is. You know, it's these little subtle things, and it makes you question, God, did I see that right? Maybe not. And you just dismiss it because, you know, it's human nature. But once that progresses, you know, it's like, oh, this is weirding me out. The person kept saying how weird it was and how much it's freaking them out. Well, is that a form of surrender? Is having those doubts or those emotions, those timid or tepid emotions, does that a sign of weakness? Does that allow a spirit to exert more of its influence? Because after that, after they realized, no, it was definitely, he was definitely gone, the cats were outside, then it was open. So at that point, they had to acknowledge that it was there. Maybe it's just an acknowledgement the spirits need. I don't know. The reason I say that is because sometimes people will suggest or advise people dealing with hauntings to ignore everything. Ignore it, no matter what, no matter how crazy it is, just act like nothing's going on. And the idea, I think, is just that the spirit's going to get bored and find something else to do or somewhere else to go. But in either case, it does seem to need a permission or something from us to exert. And so it always starts out small. Many people believe that there are some spiritual bodies or presences that need that negative energy. They need that fear, and they feed on it. And so they try to inspire that fear. I think most commonly, I think that that's probably, you know, true to some extent, but I think it's just acknowledgement is important. It's like, yeah, I know you're here, but I think at that point, you've really got to claim your space. You've got to claim your space. And I say this, I've said this hundreds of times throughout doing the show, but we always have new listeners, so I like to share this whenever it comes up. But it never starts out huge. It never starts out with, hey, you know, the doors are slamming and water's turning on and off and stuff. It'll be little things first and over a period of time. And, you know, so just claim your space. If you think something's there, just say, hey, I know you're here, but here's the rules. If you can't live this way, you got to leave. You're not welcome. But anyway, don't mean to be preachy, but that's kind of part of my role. All right, here's the next story. This is coming from Texas, where the T-Rexes are and somebody's exes. And we did a story the other last week, I guess, about the T-Rexes. People are claiming to see these little smaller size. They're about 3 or 4 feet tall and look just like T-Rexes. That's creepy enough, but all right. So this is haunted places. It says, when I was very little, my grandma lived in a good-sized house with her husband. He died already from a silent heart attack. He wasn't my real grandma. He was like a step-grandpa. Or it wasn't my real grandpa. Sorry, I think he said grandma. He was like a step-grandpa. On and around their house was strange things. My cousin had a cat that she loved so much. My grandpa kept the cat for her. One day the cat went missing, and when she came back, her fur had been shaved off except for her tail end. Not her butt, but the end of her tail. The next day, the cat was dead. In the road. Before my grandma married my grandpa, he was married to another woman. She sold her soul and played with demons? She hated my grandpa and asked her friends to mess with her. Oh, she hated my grandma, rather. Okay, sorry. There was this one room that everyone hated. My grandpa was a Christian. My grandma was a Christian woman. God, I don't know why I'm having trouble with grandma and grandpa. Was a Christian woman, so were a lot of her friends. She had a vanity in her room, and she put all the pictures of her friends in the mirror. She left to go to the bathroom or something, and when she came back, all the pictures were on the floor face down. When she explained the mess to her husband, he denied it as if it were nothing. Another thing is, when my cousin, the one whose cat got shaved, slept in the room, she woke up in the middle of the night to see a figure come through the wall and go out the other side. She tried to scream for her parents, but no sound came out from her shaking lips. In that same room, after her husband died, my grandma was going to sleep, and she felt someone sit at the end of the bed, even though no one was there except for her. This is someone, I think is what they meant, lay as a husband or a lover next to her and wrapped their arms around her, and she said, "The Lord told me that the thing was a familiar spirit. So I got up and yelled, 'No, I bind you, Satan. I bind you. Leave this house now.' The spirit never bothered me again." That's what the grandma said. She lived in the house for about 2 months before she moved. The reason she moved was something roughly told her in a demonic voice to leave. As she was fleeing to her car, the door to the garage slammed shut behind her, but the car door wouldn't open even though the lock was up. And when she finally got into her car, she sped off and did not return. She had my aunt come and clean out everything, and to this day, we've not returned except for my aunt, and that was when she cleaned. Yeah, that's a creepy house. Don't play around with that. I'm just looking at the time to see how much we got. We've always got time for more paranormal. Here's another one. This story is coming from Texas again. It has to do with miscellaneous. It was on a Friday of last year. My cousins Richard and Arthur were going to sleep over. We were in my room playing games. My mom called us for pizza. When we got back to my room, everything was shut off. My mom was nowhere close to my room at the time. The only people who live at my house are my mom and I, so shortly after, we decided to listen to the radio. A few minutes later, the volume lowered and we were freaked out. We rose it again, and then the same thing happened. About 2 months ago, 2 other friends slept over. It says sleeped over, but they slept over. We were telling jokes, and we heard a loud thud. We asked my mom if she heard it, and she said no. Next, we were watching television, and it turned off. The remote control was 5 feet away. In the morning, we heard the sound of music coming from the living room, but there was never a radio or anything in there. Last week, I was listening to my iPod, and out of nowhere, the earphones pop out of my ears. I put them back in, and a few minutes later, it completely locked up. In the same day, the sound of a waterfall woke me up in my room. I checked everything. The electric devices were disconnected. I'm really confused about these strange things that keep happening. If anyone can help me, I'd be really glad. Yeah, that's strange. Strangeness popping off in Texas, folks. It's got all those T-Rexes and X's. I don't know. All right. Let's see what this one is. This one's coming from Alaska. It's quite a bit longer. This will probably be the last one we'll cover before the trail cam terrors, which we're going to get to in just a few minutes here. But this is from Alaska. It has to do with poltergeists or physical manifestations. It's a bit longer, so bear with me, but I'll do my best to read it as cohesively as I'm able. I'm going to take a drink quick. San Antonio, DJ Big Reds. All right. Representing, brother. Or sister. I don't know. I always make the assumption. Sorry. I shouldn't do that. But welcome, everybody. All right. So this is coming from Alaska. Let's see what's going on there. It says, my husband reenlisted for Fort Wainwright, Alaska in April of 2002. We left Fort Benning in September of that year, and took 1 month leave to go home before we flew out. We knew we were heading into one of the coldest places on Earth during the winter months and an active earthquake zone to boot, but we were anxious to begin this new adventure. After 3 weeks in lodging, we got a house over at Birchwood. It was a townhouse-style home, and it was cozy. I don't remember exactly how long we were in the house before I had my first experience, but it was active up until we moved in April of 2006. My husband worked night shift on patrol quite a bit for the first year we were there. One night my husband was working and I was sleeping. I got woke up by 2 pokes on my left thigh. I thought it was my daughter wanting to climb in bed with me, but when I rolled over, no one was there. And both kids were in bed soundly asleep. Peeps. Long Island Bigfoot. Sorry, I just saw that orange Paranormal Portal. Paranormal Portal peeps. All right. I thought I'd just been dreaming, so I rolled back over and went back to sleep. I just put it out of my mind. It was a few months later, and my husband was actually home this time. I was laying on my left side, and I don't remember how long I'd been sleeping, but I was awakened by someone saying, "What?" in a very forceful manner into my right ear. I could feel the warm breath as it was said. I kicked my husband's leg and told him to leave me alone and let me sleep. He kicked me back, saying he hadn't done anything because he was sound asleep. It ticked me off a little, so I sat up and pushed on him to get him to wake all the way up, and he kept saying he didn't do anything and that I should just let him get back to sleep. We went back and forth for a few minutes, but I told him what had happened before, and he said one last time that he hadn't done it, and that maybe it was one of my friends, quote, friends, that seemed to follow me around, and that I should just let it go and back to sleep, since there's nothing either of us could do about it. I thought, whatever, I'll just go back to sleep. I just love it. It's like a window into their relationship. Then one night, a few months later, my husband and I were downstairs watching television after we put the kids to bed. Our daughter, who was almost 3 at this time, liked to get out of bed and try to stay awake as long as she could. Well, when we heard the little footsteps coming down the stairs, we figured she was going to have an excuse to be up. So my husband went and jumped at the bottom of the stairs to try and catch her. And no one was there. He looked at me and said, "I know you heard that just as well as I did." And I looked at him and said, "Yeah, I did." So we both went upstairs to see if either of the kids were awake, but they were both soundly asleep. He just looked at me, kind of puzzled, and I shook my head and said, "I told you so." Things were always getting misplaced throughout the house that would turn up a few days later. Nothing new. The TVs upstairs and downstairs shut off a lot, and the dryer door popped open a couple of times. I had the door to the garage lock itself on me one time when I went to put stuff in the trash. I always saw shadows moving out of the corner of my eye, and I refused to go downstairs at night after we had just gone to bed. My husband would laugh at me, but I just couldn't do it. The last thing that happened occurred about a month before PCS'd to New York. I don't know what PCS means. Must mean a transfer or something. Before we PCS'd to New York. My husband was working the night shift, and it was a very cold, snowy night. Me and the kids had been inside all day, and I just fed them. So I told them I was going to go get a shower and that they should come upstairs and play until I was done. I made sure the front and back door as well as both screens were locked before we went upstairs. For some reason, I just wanted them to be upstairs with me. I got out and dressed for bed and asked them if they wanted anything to snack on or drink before we went back up. And we all started down the stairs, and my dog was laying in front of the open front door, staring at it like she was going to pounce on something. Now, my kids stayed upstairs with me, and I know this because I could hear them playing while I was in the shower, and the house was all locked up. How in the hell did my screen door and front door get opened? I panicked, grabbed the kids, threw their coats on them, and told them to get the dog and get in the car. I threw my coat on, grabbed my purse, closed and locked the door, and got in the car and left, and I called my husband as soon as I backed out of the driveway and told him what happened and said that he needed to come to the house and go through it before me and the kids would go back in. He said he'd be home in a couple of minutes, but I wasn't going back without him, so I just kept driving. I ended up meeting the police car at the entrance to our neighborhood, and he had another MP behind him, so they flipped on their lights and sped off towards the house. I had left in such a hurry that I left all the lights on and the TVs on upstairs. I wasn't going back in until they went through every room, closet, crawl space, and cleared that house. I tried to keep my composure for the kids' sake, but I was scared to death. It just didn't make any sense, and even though they didn't find anyone in the house or any indication that anyone had tried to get in, it didn't make me feel any better. Both kids slept with me that night, as well as our dog. We had taken up drinks and snacks and movies, and they got a few toys to play with and sleep with. So as soon as we were all settled and my husband had to go, I locked the bedroom door and put my baseball bat between the bed and my nightstand. I don't know what good it would have done, since I figured it wasn't something I could see anyway, but it made me feel a little better having it right there. Needless to say, I was not sorry to see us leave that house. I only hope that the next couple who moved in haven't had any unexplained happenings like we did. Oof. That's pretty intense, folks. Pretty intense. Wow. That's creepy. That's a lot of creepy. You know what else is creepy? The trail cam terrors. All right, folks. We're going to talk about the trail cam terrors here for a little bit. This is for the end of the show. Now, the trail cam terrors, if you're new to this, is a segment I put together where I just go out and look for these trail cam photos that people have captured. I can't vouch for the authenticity of them. I'm sure that there's several of them are not legitimate, but they're represented as true. So I bring them to you and you can be the judge. I don't know. The one I'm about to show you, though, I think is absolutely real. And I'll first bring up the other one that it kind of correlates to. A week or so back, we showed this one. And this is what some people are calling a chupacabra. And it's a very strange looking animal. It's hard to really quantify what it is. It's been compared to something with mange. It's been compared to a lot of different things. Now, there are some weird characteristics of this that I think are interesting. The one is that it almost seems to have a mane. It has these weird, I don't know, real spindly bat-like ears. It has you can't really see it from this image, but they generally have like no hair or very little hair. This one almost appears to have stripes on the legs, as if it was some kind of brindle or something like that. But at any rate, this is something that turned up on a trail cam, allegedly from the south. Now, in my search for more images to use for this, I found another one that looks strikingly similar to this from, and it's actually one of these in action. And here it is. This is one that was captured. Looks like it was captured in 2000. Now, I've done a reverse image search on it, and as far as I can tell, it showed up on the web in about the year 2014. So it's been around quite a long time. I don't know what source it is, but if we can trust the date, it looks like May 27th of the year 2000, if that clock was set right, at 7:21 p.m. So, and it's obviously been busy. It's killed 3. It's getting a 4th. I think these are turkeys, but it was branded as if it was killing chickens, but I don't know if those are chickens or not. Maybe they are. I don't know. I don't pretend to know much about different kinds of fowl, but this is one of them grabbing. It's obviously been busy already. It's got 3 or possibly 4. That might be 2 of them together. and it's getting a fifth, and then there's another one out over there. So I don't know. What's this dead stuff? Okay. But I thought it was interesting because if you look at the characteristics of this, it looks strikingly similar to the other one. Now, I will say the legs are a lot more stubby. If you look at the different legs here, these legs are much more spindly and these legs are much more stubby. So it could be a little bit different variation, but there are a lot of similarities. It looks almost more spotted, maybe less of a tail, or no, about the same on the tail, but it has that same stubby snout, those similar ears, and I don't know what it is, but it's also represented as a chupacabra. And so I don't know. I don't know if these have been drained of blood already or what's going on here, but this is the newest addition to our trail cam terrors, and it's pretty freaky. Now, you be the judge. It's not a huge animal, obviously, when you compare it to, if these are chickens, this is a smaller, it's less than a German Shepherd by a good deal. Again, though, the legs are much more stumpy rather than this one, whose legs are quite longer. But I said longer. All these habits I'm picking up. All right, so I don't know what you think. Again, it's obviously a very real picture. I don't believe this has been hoaxed. I think it is a capture. Is it just a mangy animal? Is it possibly a hybrid? Now, one that looks similar to this was allegedly tested by a university who said it was a hybrid between some kind of wolf and a coyote or a dog or something like that. And that may or may not be. Hybrids certainly pop up in nature. It's nothing new, but this looks a little bit different. So I don't know. You guys be the judge, but I think it's pretty creepy, and I feel terrible for those chickens. There's not much they can do to defend themselves against something that's so much bigger. But again, it's just murdering them. It's almost like it wouldn't need to do this. It wouldn't need to just kill several, but it's choosing to. So I don't know if that's a normal predator behavior for coyotes and dogs and stuff, just to kill everything that moves and then figure out what they need. Maybe. But that's the trail cam terrors for tonight, folks. You be the judge. Let me know in the comments what you think. I'd be curious any feedback you guys have on this, or if any of you out there have more information about these images that I'm showing, please feel free. I'd love to know more and where to find more information. If you have more information, please feel free to volunteer that. If you have links to more information, please feel free to include those in the comments as well. I think they're very cool. So, I don't know. Hey, Jordan. BLB so much Jake. Hope Wolf hybrid. Okay. Very good. Thank you, Hope. I appreciate your input on this. It could very well be. I did just find that. So that very well could be. I don't pretend to know, but it's just something that's been caught on trail cam. And so it gets highlighted on the show. So anyway, could be a new creature. You're right. And if it is a hybrid, that is a new creature. It's not one that's been documented. Brent, check out some of the dog-like animals from Africa. Okay. Thank you. I will. Do you think this is maybe from Africa? Do you think it's being misrepresented, Digger? It could very well be. It wouldn't look too much different than the wild dogs over there, I guess. I can picture in my mind. I don't know if they're not jackals really, but there's these dogs that have huge ears. I don't know about this one. This one's really creepy, but this one could be. I don't know. But anyway, that's what I got for you guys tonight. I hope you've enjoyed this journey. I hope you're having fun. But these were the Trail Cam Terrors. All right, folks. That's about our show for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you to all of you, 59 of you who are here with me. If you're not already subscribed, please get subscribed. Please ring the bell so you know when we're doing what we're doing. I'd love to add you to the family if you don't mind sticking around and getting notifications from us when we're doing shows. But if you're new to the show, we do live streams here on YouTube Wednesday through Sunday nights. Now, Monday and Tuesday we'll be off. I'm off. I'm going to be working on a lot of projects on the side, including some show projects. Hopefully I'll get something wrapped up, but I'm working on them when I can. So, but feel free to email me if you've got anything you want to contribute or add to the show, or even suggestions, or if you've got a lot of stories of your own you want to be a guest on the podcast. Email me at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/paranormalportalradio, and check out the fans page. There's a Paranormal Portal fans page on Facebook as well, and it's a great site, and it's a lot of fun to see what you guys are posting over there, and hope you'll check it out. So, all right, guys, that's all I got for you. I can't think of anything else. You're welcome, Warchild. Thank you. Thank you very much, and by all means, have a wonderful Monday and Tuesday. I'll be back Wednesday with Don, and we'll tear it up again for the 2-hour show. So I hope you'll join us. So anyway, that's all I got. Take care. Love you all. Be good. Be kind. Be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. Remember, I love you. I really love you. So that's coming from my heart. All right, guys, that's all I got. Good night. Take care. Sweet dreams. And I'll see you on Wednesday.